All right, we should be live on the JX23 Twitch channel. System Update Podcast number 5 with EddyTheChump. Why are you called EddyTheChump, man?
Why am I called EddyTheChump? It's kind of it's a sort of in joke with some friends that I had when I was young, but it's mainly so that people don't take me seriously. I think it's like it was done out of
poke fun at yourself, kind of.
Yeah, sort of self-deprecating, because I knew like when I was going to make content that I'd probably make content that was a bit more cerebral, and I wanted people to realise that I had like a knowing sense of humour about my own pretensions.
I'll tell you what, if you asked me what does cerebral mean, I would really struggle to tell you. What does cerebral mean?
Sort of like more intellectual.
Ah, okay, that's fair enough. Right, well, that's good. Hi there, viewers. I know there's not going to be many of you in the channel right now because this is just probably the most random podcast yet, and I don't even think I might be putting this on YouTube. If it is on YouTube, then I was desperate for a video, so appreciate that if you're watching this on YouTube. That I was that desperate that I rushed getting this uploaded as well, but it'll probably be on Twitch, of course, and MP3 download somewhere. I know if you want it, I'll put it somewhere, guys, so don't stress if you don't watch it all and you want to watch it. I wonder if many people watch it back on Twitch, actually. I think a few do, obviously, nothing like the YouTube numbers. Right, so me and Eddie tonight, we've got a lot to catch up on. It's been well over 2 weeks since podcast, because it's normally a Tuesday as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
A lot has happened, actually. I mean, me and you went to London and all that. I mean, we haven't done a podcast since then, have we?
No, we haven't actually. That's a good point.
Yeah, cool. So we can discuss all of that shenanigans. Oh, that's excellent. That gives us some good topics. Right, so I mean, before we start that, let's just see how your week's been. What you been up to?
So Monday I did a new video where I sort of like, there's a YouTuber I've mentioned before called FazeJev, and he makes these sort of rage tages, and I just find them so hilarious. I think anyone who plays games and rages at them finds rage tages really funny. I know it's not to everyone's cup of tea, but I've always wanted to do something like that, so I did a new type of video on my channel. And it went,
you gotta just do it, man. Yeah. You want to do it, just do it.
And thankfully, it seemed to go down really well. I mean,
the ratings were good.
Yeah, like it was like double the likes than my normal videos. So
I think people appreciate it being mixed up every now and then as well, you know?
Yeah, I think they do.
Like, as good as any one style of content can be, it's always nice to see something fresh.
Yeah. And I think, especially with like my type of video, I think if I don't vary what's on my channel a little bit more going forward...
then you'll get pigeonholed too much.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, everyone who knows me or who's gamed with me knows that in person I'm nice, I'm friendly, and I'm kind of a nice guy. But like when I play games, I just lose my shit with them. So I wanted to do it, and it sort of worked out. So that's good.
As a viewer, it was a little strange seeing that kind of video from you. Even considering like how well I know you. Yeah. Like it was still strange for me to see you in that context in a video.
Yeah.
I like it, but I think it's more. I like it, and when I watch it, I think like hopefully this will develop into something that's going to be, because obviously it's your first time doing something like that, and I know when I do something and then I watch it back and I'm like, okay, next time I feel like this, and then it will keep getting better, you know?
Yeah, that's, I mean, and I know when people say that, like I've had a few people say that to me, and I know what they're not saying, well, it'll get better because it's kind of average right now. I know that's not what you're saying, but I know that as I go forward, I'll sort of make it more mine, because it's kind of... Yeah.
Well, you'll look back at that first one and be like, oh, that's crap compared to these ones. Yeah. Like I do it with most of my videos. Like I look back at my early gold gun guide and stuff, and I'm like, well, that's crap compared to what I do now. Yeah. But didn't make the original video crap. No. It was just, it evolved. Yeah. As I evolved in that kind of style of doing things. So yeah, I'm looking forward to the progression of you in a different style, because I know you can do what you're good at, and it's been popular. So yeah, as a viewer, I'm hoping we'll make so. Who knows? Maybe a Eddie montage or something.
Yeah, well, I've always wanted to edit a montage to like an AC/DC song, but I mean, that's the only music that I can see me doing a montage, unless I was like taking the. What I've always wanted to do as well is sort of like subvert montages a little bit and sort of make a montage to like dubstep with like really flashy graphics of me just being really shit.
Yeah. That's always appreciated. People like that.
Yeah, you know, make like a funny one. I think the only expectation of my channel from people who watch it is that it's funny. Like, did
you ever see like that montage? Like it was like a parody montage, but it was just so funny, like screaming kids and over the top editing. And...
Yeah, it was by like if it's the one I think you mean, it's this is how console COD players react.
Yeah,
so, and it was like an S&D, wasn't it?
Yeah, I don't know. It was like a whole montage, and it had like Power Rangers in it and everything. It was like kind of over the top, ridiculous, and I don't know, it was great. Like MLG no scope flashes up on the screen every like 10 seconds and stuff, and yeah, I loved that. I tell you what, I actually bumped into on the internet the other day. Weird thing to say, but I guess it works in these modern days of internets. And I bumped into a YouTube channel run by a guy called Maddox. Do you know who I mean if I say Maddox?
No.
Do you remember the early days of the internet? Obviously you do.
Yeah.
But this guy used to have a blog online, and it was like black background with colour text or white text, and he used to like rage or like rant about stuff that was going on. But it was kind of like a really underground blog, but it was actually really huge, really popular.
Yeah.
Did you ever see that blog back in the day? It was so weird because I remember back in the day, because this blog started in 97. So I must have seen this blog in like 2000 or something, and I just forgot about it. But I always remember at the time thinking, this is so funny, like what he was writing. And I'm not the type to sit there and read a blog, but it was just cracking me up, like talking about it was like stand-up comedy, like but in written form, and just talking about society and stuff. And I was like, oh my god, this guy is still around, and he's on YouTube now. And I was like, well, just goes to show you, I think people like get forgotten. But it's like, because people say that about me sometimes, like, oh, I didn't realize you're still making videos and that. And I'm like, well, I've never gone anywhere.
Yeah, it's not like.
And that's how this. Weird. Yeah, and this guy must feel like that about people who like re-find him. It's like, well, I've always had a website, so you could have gone on there. So anyway, that was interesting, but. We have got quite a lot of topics tonight, considering when we first started, we were thinking, oh God, we've got nothing to talk about. But the first thing we've remembered is that me and Eddie met up in London and went to a Call of Duty Championship event. We went for a cheeky pint as well and watched Spurs lose like 4-0 on it to Liverpool. Yeah. To be honest, I knew it was going to happen. You just tell by the amount I was like uninterested in the game, but I was so predictable. I was saying to Eddie, like, the Spurs midfield, I mean, who are they anymore? Like, anyway, enough about Spurs' problems. Actually saying they won 5-1, didn't they, the other day?
What I should laugh about was, like, I knew that beer was expensive in London, but when I bought the first round and it was like £8 for 2 pints, I was like,
oh, wasn't it like 9? I swear.
Yeah, it was. I was like, if I tell someone from up north that's true, that's how much it cost, they wouldn't believe me.
Yeah, I know, and it's weird because I even though beer has always been that price for me for like the last 10 years almost, I still, when I go to a bar and don't get any change from a tenner for 2 drinks, I'm still like, what is this? Like, why am I giving you that much money for like what's going to be 30 minutes of my life? And even then, it's like, it's just the drink. It's like, in what other ways can you spend that amount of money so quickly on something that's not a physical product?
It's crazy. It's crazy. I
suppose food and drink is like that, but yeah, I mean, a pint of beer for like £4-5. Ugh. I don't know, it makes me sick.
Yeah, I mean, we were asking for it. I mean, the event was in central London, like Piccadilly.
Yeah, and also, to be fair, the fact that we knew we'd be getting cheap drink later made it a bit easier. Yeah. Well, free drink later.
Yeah, free.
We'll make it easier. But it's always a bit awkward at these events. Obviously, we went there eventually after we thought it was somewhere else. That was its own nightmare. But like I say, with these free bars, because obviously like they don't do like shots and stuff. So if you want to get smashed, you have to like absolutely hammer the bottles.
Yeah, you
it's like
drink like 8 bottles of beer.
and my liver was like, I can't deal with this volume of alcohol. I'm like, I'm just not going to be able to process it quick enough to stay drunk.
No, they did serve us some quite nice little pizza and chips.
Yeah,
And the burgers and stuff.
But it almost doesn't feel right at a free bar, does it?
No.
To be eating, because you're like, well, this is just going to hamper my free bar experience.
And I feel like you and I have a bond that is based around, we're old enough that we came from a drinking culture. Like when we were young, that's what you did. You went out, you got messed.
They're still there now, just not as many.
Yeah. But what I'm saying, in comparison to the rest of the people at the event, it's like we were just like, well, so when does it all get started then? You know, and everyone's like,
when's the night start?
Yeah, and everyone's sort of sitting there like calmly sipping on their Corona with lime, and I'm like, this is not what this is supposed to be.
Yeah, I know. I noticed when you got there, you were like, oh, I thought it'd be a bit more rowdy, and I'm thinking, nope. Nope.
Yeah, you can tell.
You got to pick out the party animals.
Yeah, you can tell that was my first event, because I was like, yeah, let's get this started, everyone. No one's up.
And it finished before it began, kind of, in terms of the hype. To be fair, I think if it was a bit of a smaller place, it would have had more of an atmosphere, because there wasn't enough of us to fill it out.
Yeah.
And also, the fact that there's, like, no public there, it makes it kind of... I don't know. It's all very civil. And the thing is as well, like, people don't want to get too smashed and stuff because you're there with your peers, really.
Yeah.
In terms of YouTubers and people from Activision and whatever. And, I mean, don't get me wrong, I've been smashed at a couple of those things, especially Call of Duty release night party at the O2. And luckily, like, no one really noticed me by the time I was at Smash. I just got home. But yeah, you don't want to be like slurring over people. Although they would find it hilarious and they'd joke about it. But at the same time, it's like,
yeah, because it's a work. It's like a work party, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's like a work party
kind of
with a disgusting lack of women.
It was like zero women that were like on their own, obviously.
Yeah, there was one girl that I think was Lieutenant Zonder's girlfriend.
Yeah, no, there was. Is he called Lieutenant, or is that just? I just call him LT. I call it LT. Yeah, no, there was that girl. I mean, she came with him. Obviously, Tasha came with Mike and Liam's girlfriend.
He was there, yeah.
I mean, so it wasn't like the biggest sausage fest ever, but it is weird going to a bar and there being no groups of girls. It is weird. Like, I mean, it's fine. Like, don't get me wrong, but as a guy who's like had a few drinks and you're looking around, and you're thinking, this is weird. Like, we're in a bar and we're drinking, and I don't know. I suppose then it has more of a like going around your mates vibe instead of a because it's weird. You're in that central London where it was a lovely bar, beautiful location as well, and it's like, well, this is like big time, and then you just look around, it's like, this isn't exactly very glamorous, is it?
No, it was kind of. I don't want to say it was underwhelming because the purpose of it wasn't to sort of like get lathered. The purpose of it was to watch the Call of Duty Championships, and there's a free bar, etc., etc.
Yeah, but you never get to watch it though, because like you always don't know what time it's on, and it's not really loud enough, and most people aren't interested because they're talking to each other. So it's a bit,
and it's not really like it's. I mean, don't crucify me, COD fans, but it just doesn't get me as pumped as a good football match. Like as like.
Oh yeah, obviously.
Like I can't get hyped about these guys.
Yeah, I mean it's not a. Yeah, I see where you come from, but I can enjoy it more if I'm. To be fair, I enjoy it more if I'm at home watching on my own. If you know what I mean, because then I can just listen to the codcasters and then get hyped by that.
Yeah.
Instead of, I mean, maybe if you were there, obviously, but when it's like on in the background in a bar, it's a bit, and then you're not going to see the final because it's like there's like an hour in between the games because it's the last games. And then, I mean, we had to go as the final started. So it's good. It's a good thing, but it's difficult to enjoy as a spectacle in that kind of arena, shall I say.
Yeah.
But I was surprised there wasn't that many people there. I wonder if it was because people like didn't know where it was. But
it could have been quite easily because, I mean, they just didn't send out the email.
I'd say there was less people there than last year, and the last year was in a smaller venue as well.
Yeah. I mean, there were some nice people that I've met before, like Andrew, Unknown Player, was there. Oakley was there. Mike was there. Obviously, Liam, I'm mates with. I went there with, and Will was there. So there were some cool people there, but
yeah, so it's kind of familiar faces, which is nice.
Yeah, I don't know. It kind of Eurogamer had more excitement to it. Do you know what I mean? Like when I went to Eurogamer last year, it was you know, I don't know. It was like a work do. That's the best way of putting it.
Yeah. I think a few things would have made it a bit more epic. Number one, more people. Number two, everyone was staying till the end, and everyone was up for a party.
Yeah.
Like, you know, because half of the people were it's like sitting around, they're like, oh, should we go to McDonald's or something? What are you doing? Like, there's free drink, and if you're hungry, there's food. What do you want to go get a McDonald's for? I tell you, it's the Northerners, mate. That's what it is.
Yeah,
I always struggle with that. Like, people who go somewhere new or different, but just want the home comfort still. Like, what's the point in eating? Like, I get sometimes the convenience. Like, you go to Malia or something, and you get a McDonald's at the end of the night because there's a McDonald's there.
Yeah.
But I don't want everything I eat to be what I experience at home. It's like, that's not the point of being somewhere new.
Yeah,
even if you find a little pub, it's like, well, let's try this pub's food. I don't know. Like,
I went to this when I was about 17, so back in ages past. I went on one of these terrible lads' holidays to like Kavos or something, and they had the Sun imported, like the Sun newspaper, and I was like, I can't imagine, like. That is just the worst.
Yeah, like they still want to be at home, but in the sun, I suppose. I don't know.
Yeah, it's weird.
And also, there's this thing with like all the Call of Duty YouTubers and stuff, where whenever there's like an event, everyone always goes to Nando's afterwards. That's like a ritual.
Yeah, this has become an in joke, hasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, didn't we go there? We did, didn't we? After Eurogamer.
Yeah,
one
we went to Nando's, and the last time I went to Nando's was with Benny.
Exactly my point.
Benny, Andrew, and Mess Yourself, and a few other people, like way bigger YouTubers than me, and I was like just sitting there going, "Oh, you're right."
The good thing about going to Nando's, I suppose, is that you can all pay individually quite easily.
Yeah.
So if you're in a group, and obviously it's not awkward when the bill comes, and that's and people know what they want, and you know people are going to like the food. There's that, but at the same time, like, I'd rather just go to some little place I've never been to. Do you know what I mean? Just go in somewhere. I don't care what it is, and that's how you find cool places, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, which is always good, but I suppose that's just the globalisation of everything, isn't it? It's
the homogenisation of everything.
Nando's is almost the new McDonald's, isn't it? It's weird.
Yeah, sort of. I mean, I would always prefer it to a McDonald's, I've got to be honest, but it is sort of...
Yeah, I mean, I still like Nando's as much as I, you know...
Yeah, it's
like
quite funny, though, that it's a YouTuber thing.
It's weird. I think it's just a general thing now as well, though. Like, it's an easy place to eat, and I think more places should have that style of you go and pay
first
at the till.
Yeah, you go and pay first.
And that's convenient. That mixed with you also get to sit down and feel like you're eating a proper dinner still, rather than like some cardboard style burger bun with like. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, that's all a bit tacky in comparison. So yeah, there was that. Anything else from the event we should talk about that happened, or
I can't
remember.
Yeah, I can't.
We've kind of discussed what it was like.
Yeah, no, I can't. I can't. That was it, really. I mean, there wasn't. I mean, I'm sure some people who are on like the outside of YouTube think all this stuff's like really glamorous, but it's really. I don't want to say it's unglamorous, but it's...
Well, to be fair, sometimes it is.
Yeah.
Like, when I went to one of the DLC capture events, and it was free drinks there, it was in, like, this 5-star hotel. Amazing. They had food, they were doing cocktails, and there was, like, enough people there to make it look interesting, but not so many that you didn't feel like it was exclusive. And it was cool, like, but yeah, that thing just, for me, it was the whole thing of like, I was annoyed that we didn't know where it was and we were in the wrong place.
Yeah.
Especially considering we got there early to enjoy it, the whole thing.
Yeah.
And we would have been first in. But, you know, you get there, it's like, oh, right, okay, well, we've already lost an hour and a half of the night. You know, it was just a right mess. But I don't know, these things happen sometimes. So, what else were we going to talk about? We were going to talk about wrestling because WrestleMania was on Sunday, obviously, and the Ultimate Warrior died today. Was it yesterday? I don't know. Do you know what he died of? I haven't looked into it, any of it, the story.
No, I don't, but I should imagine it's heart failure with someone like that.
Yeah, it's normally a heart problem. He did look very red as well when he did his last few appearances and out of breath, and so it probably a heart thing. But
it's the thing. I don't know. I just feel like culturally, when I was a kid, you were either Ultimate Warrior or you were Hulk Hogan. I mean, that was it. That was the choices. You were either in one camp or the other.
It's weird though, because I was kind of more into the generation just past that, where it was like Razor Ramon. And for me it was always, do I like Razor Ramon or Shawn Michaels? And I couldn't make my mind up. And I remember once they had an epic ladder match at one of the WrestleManias, or might have even been a Royal Rumble match. And it was back when a ladder match was a new thing.
Yeah.
It's like, and oh my God, I remember my little, I don't know, I was 10 or something, like watching it on pay-per-view. That was like the first pay-per-view event we ever had because cable and Sky was all new. And oh man, that is a lifelong memory for me. I was like, I liked that era. I really did enjoy it.
Yeah. I think
Hulk Hogan I did, but I was still a bit, I don't think we even had, because it was only on Sky TV back then. Well, it is now, but not many people had Sky really.
Yeah.
Like when it first came out.
Yeah, they didn't. No, it was a rare thing to be able to see it, and I just sort of, my appreciation for wrestling, like when I was young, obviously, like it's just everything, and as I've got older, like there was a period in my early 20s where I just watched it religiously because I didn't care about the match. I just loved the like comedy writing that they do.
Well, that's what it's all about, the whole thing. Yeah. It's all about the story. I mean, it's not about the fight, because there is no fight. I mean, it's a pantomime, but
it's pantomime, but like my favourite era for like just pure comedy gold was the Stone Cold and Kurt Angle era.
Yeah, that was I remember Raw was a big thing back then. It was like Stone Cold Mankind was around then. And that was a fun era as well. All the eras have been good in a little way. I do feel like the last 5 years or so, I mean, I haven't really kept up with it because I don't really have Sky or keep up with it, but there isn't as many great characters, but then you always say that until afterwards, don't you?
Yeah.
But I remember, like, when I was a kid, I was literally terrified of The Undertaker. Like, I thought that when they went into his coffin at the end of a match, that's it, they'd bury him and they were dead.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And as a kid, you don't understand, well, no, it's just for show, you know?
Yeah,
they're not going to...
Yeah, it's like a soap.
They're not going to die. Yeah, they're not going to die. But my little brain was like, well, that's it. They're dead. Like, and obviously I'm terrified. And I used to always take things too literally. You know, when like a kid looks at things almost when they're too smart for their own good. I remember when I was a kid and there was an advert for Iceland. You know, like Iceland shops. The freezer shop, whatever you call it. So it's like a little supermarket with frozen stuff in. And I remember at the time when I was a little kid, I was quite into like countries and geography, and so I knew about a lot of countries and stuff. And then there was an advert, and there was this table full of food, and there was these like kids smiling around it, and the thing said, "Oh, Mum's gone to Iceland," and when I was a child, I thought what it meant was that the mum had travelled to the country Iceland and she'd left them all this food because she was going away. And I didn't understand that Iceland was a shop. And I'm like, oh my God, she's like gone and like just left them food. And I was like, I felt like a bit of an idiot, but yeah, it's like that when you're a kid. You don't, I don't know. You take things on their face value, I suppose, and you just
Yeah, it's like that's what I was going to say. It's like looking at things totally superficially or at face value. Like it's true that I mean that's what naivety is, isn't it?
Yeah, I suppose that's what it is. But I think that's the only real thing I think of, though. And it's almost like when you're almost too smart for your own good, but you don't quite have all of the knowledge to actually join the dots. So you, I don't know. I was a weird little kid.
I'm pretty sure we all were. I mean, I'm sure everyone thinks they were a strange child.
I remember when I was a kid. I'm talking like infant school. My school was having a collection of stamps. They would like collect stamps to like send away to something or whatever.
Yeah.
And so what they wanted is you to like get the stamps off of your post and then bring them into school in a bag.
Yeah.
And what I'd done without realising, well, I realised it, but didn't realise how stupid it was, is I found a book in the loft that had loads of stamps in. And I was like, oh, yeah, stamps. And so I took all the stamps out of the book, put them in a bag and took them to school to, like, whatever they do with them.
Yeah.
And it was actually my granddad's old stamp collection. And it was from, like, stamps from all over the world, from, like, when he was in the war and stuff.
Wow.
And I don't remember exactly what happened, because I've also got memories of having the book. So I don't know if like I kind of maybe did a few, but I remember having this feeling of like looking back thinking, I swear I like gave a load of them away. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
In that thing. But also my brain thinks, well, I swear there was a little period where I kind of liked the stamps. So I was collecting them as well, I think. I don't know. But I swear, I don't want to overthink it, but I swear there was a penny black in there. And I don't want to think, because I don't think anyone ever found out what happened to that penny black. But
aren't penny blacks worth so much money?
Well, yeah, it's the first stamp. It's the first ever stamp, British one. So I don't want to almost admit it. I don't even want to tell I don't think my mum even knows. But I remember there was a book of stamps from around the world. Oh, I don't know. It's weird now, because even nowadays and very soon, like people are like, what are you on about stamps? Like, what's a stamp? Like,
yeah.
People just pay postage. Do you know what I mean? It'll be codes or whatever.
It's so weird. I feel like, I mean, as part of the video I did today, it's like I've passed an invisible age line, I think, just recently. I now look at the younger generation as separate from me. Like, I don't feel like part of it.
Well, I do. I don't, depending on the maturity level of the person.
Yeah.
Like, there are people who are like 18 to 22 who I see as similar to me. But there's also a lot of them where I'm like, God, that is just so not where I'm at. I'm being obviously because I'm older. But at the same time, I don't know, it's like, I think that's more of a personality thing. I mean, also it's to do with maturity as well.
Yeah.
But also there are some people who are at different stages of their mental development. And it almost makes you think like, God, when I was younger, I used to think of someone who's like 19, 20 as like all grown up. But then when you get past that and you're a bit older, you think, God, when I was like 19, 20, I was so not there yet. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
I mean, even now I'm not. But then when you're a younger and a kid, you think, oh, by the time I'm 25, I'll be like, Barry Big Bollocks, and I'll have it all sussed out and everything. But then you're like, God, like it takes humans so long to like evolve to a stage of dependence, and you think of all the other animals in the animal kingdom. I mean, you see this chimpanzee, it's like 2 years old and it's like a full-grown chimp or something, I don't know, and it's just wandering around its own. Human beings, like, yeah, I'm 20 but I'm still completely dependent on other people.
yeah
And it's strange. I don't know if that's for the better or for worse, but
I think that's getting longer as well. I think the age that people are still dependent on like their parents or whatever, because the world is so much more limited, I think, for young people.
To be fair, I put a lot of that down to the property market.
Yeah, no, I do too. I mean, we're obviously going into a subject here that a lot of people younger than us won't necessarily have a full grasp of, but there was a generation, like our parents' generation, that could at least get on the property ladder doing sort of like average like jobs. It wasn't like an impossible dream to own your own house in the town that you grew up in. And I think that now that's
and have a garden, and have more than one bedroom.
Yeah, you know, now that's more of a pipe dream, especially for
well, it's for the rich, isn't it? In a way, that's
a recent thing, and I think that like, I don't know, it's difficult to kind of imagine what it's going to be for the people that are 18, 19 when and therefore I'll be like 40. What the world will be like then, because there's already been so much change from when I was young.
It'll keep changing. Yeah. I mean, the thing is as well with property, it's so, and like where it comes to people like say living at home longer, and in some ways like you could be living at home, but it doesn't really mean you're really dependent on your family. Like I lived at home till I was like 25, 26, and once I got past like 21, 22, I didn't need my parents for anything apart from the financial stability that I couldn't afford rent of somewhere. Because I mean, rent for someone on your own in my area is like £600 a month, and that's before your council tax and your bills. So like to be independent in my area, you need to have at least £800-900 to spend on just the essentials, and then you need to be earning obviously more than that to have stuff. Like, you know what I mean, to have money. And a lot of jobs around here are like £1,000 a month, you know, 1,500. Even some of the ones where you need quite a good education for them, whatever. So if you want to work locally, you have to, I mean, there is money, there is money in some jobs, but I mean, even now, like I don't own a place, and I'm obviously looking to probably buy instead of go to somewhere rent again if I can help it. And my mum and like my stepdad said to me like, why don't you just move with us, like just for a year while you save up like for a good deposit and all this. And on one hand it's like, okay, I might save £800-900 a month, or obviously less because I'll give them money, so say £500 a month I might save, and then I guess maybe over a year I might have £6,000 or whatever. But I was just saying to them, like, in reality it doesn't work like that, because I'll just spend that money. Like, the money will go on something. Like, there'll be something I can pay for, or that I'll need to pay for, that will go, and then I would have had a year of like no independence either, in my eyes. And obviously I said to him as well, you know, I talk for a living, so good luck with that. Like, we do have a decent sized house at my mum's, so it wouldn't like be always in their way, but I still feel like I'm on top of them a bit. Like, it's still their kitchen and their bathroom. I said, look, if you had a little outhouse, I might go lodging there, maybe, but I don't know. I was just like,
I mean, my mum, it's weird. It's like I'm 30, and last time I saw my mum, she said that to me. She was just like, look, if you ever need, like, if you're going to be saving up and stuff, there's always space for you here and stuff like that. And I was like, it's just so weird. Like, I can't, now I've lived away from home so long, like 12 years since I was 18. I'm just like, I love seeing my mum, like, because I only see her about 3 times a year because she lives in Cornwall and I live miles away. Like, it's lovely seeing her. But like living with her, I'm like, I can't see it.
It's funny because like, I say, my mum was saying that to me, and I was with my sister as well at the time, and I said to my sister, I said, would you do it? She's lived on her own since she was 18. She's like in her 30s now. I said, would you go live with mum? Yeah, I'd do it. And I looked, I thought, bollocks, you would. Like, you couldn't even live together when you know, you haven't lived together for 13 years. If you spend more than 2 hours together, you have a row. But you're like, oh yeah, I'd do it. Yeah, of course you would. Like, people have these ideal, sound good on paper, but then when you come down to it, it's a bit of a nightmare. But personally, I think that it's frustrating for me because everyone always wants a house price to go up. But I look at these homeowners, I'm just like, who's going to buy your house? Who's going to buy it? Like, I understand you don't want to lose money on your property, but you agreed to buy the property for the price. It's not like an investment. I mean, it is, because you do invest in it, but I don't like the way it's seen as a money-making scheme, when what we're talking about is people's living quarters. Like, people need to live in somewhere.
Yeah.
And you can't price the population out of, a huge amount of the population is being priced out of the market because people don't want to lose any value in their property whatsoever. But it's like, well, where are they going to live? And who's going to buy your house?
Yeah.
Just other people from your generation. Good luck. Like, that's not going to last long.
Yeah, no, it's not. It's a real problem anyway with the wealth gap getting wider. At some point, without getting all like crazy, like something will have to happen where that the middle class stops getting eroded. The
financial bubble will burst. I mean, they all say, everywhere you read, the financial crash of 2008. That's what everyone always says. Like, it's 2014 now. No, Jesus Christ, people are still going on about it. It's like, have we recovered or not? And I actually watched this YouTube video where there was this economics professor basically explaining how the economy works and how it has to go in rises and troughs, because it does. Because the more, say, the economy goes to the toilet, then at some point, because some things are going to be so cheap, that's going to free up money for a certain amount of the populace, and then they're going to be able to start spending, and then that will mean everything go up because they spend. There's more jobs, there's more things being sold, there's more whatever, and then it will go up again. And it does keep doing this, dip. But the problem comes when people start inventing money because of debts and things, and writing huge amounts of money off, and then it just throws all the balance off.
Yeah,
because money is no longer based on an actual thing; it's just a number. Like, it's not an actual. I mean, it was meant originally, it was gold or whatever, but now there's no currency in material really. It's all based off of just a system where everyone just trusts each other to value things at a certain value. It's real complicated.
Yeah, no, it is.
But I guess it kind of works. Anyway, we've got other topics to talk about. Let's do something gaming based, although there's not a lot of gaming news this week, so if anyone in the chat's got any gaming stuff they wants to chat about, feel free to chime in with something. Titanfall 360 release, when's that happening?
It's out tomorrow, isn't it? It's the 8th.
It will be.
It's this week.
It's the 9th today.
Yeah,
so it's this week. Do you think, I don't know, do you know anyone that's going to be buying it on 360?
Well, at first I thought no. I thought if you wanted to play Titanfall, that was a good enough reason to upgrade. And then I sort of, in the last couple of days, I was very close to just selling my Xbox One and gambling on whether the Titanfall 360 release, was any good.
Yeah.
And I think I might take a look at it and see if it is. And if it is good, then I might get it.
What you mean if it's basically the same game?
Yeah.
With slightly not so pretty textures.
Yeah, because I traded in my Xbox One Ghost because it's just, there's no one playing it. And I think it's just such a shock to me. Like, it's
a shame though. Have you got season pass?
For Titanfall? No.
For Ghosts?
Yeah, but I've got it on. I activated it on my 360.
Oh,
first.
360, yeah. But doesn't it come out for Xbox One first, or is it 360 and Xbox at the same time?
Came out on the 360 first.
Well, the DLC.
Oh no, the DLC comes out on both at the same time.
Right, I wasn't sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Because that's the only reason I already played Ghosts on Xbox One is when the DLC comes out.
Yeah.
And I know people are like, oh, it's just DLC, but I like it. I like the DLC.
Yeah.
So
I do.
It gives me an excuse to play, and it's fun for me. Seeing as it's free already because I've got Season Pass, so...
Yeah, it's one of those things where I'm just like, why not play it? New maps or whatever, new modes. They usually do something... Like, I like what they've done with Ghosts DLC. I like that they've added stuff we've never seen before, like map specific weapons or
do you know what I find funny is I feel like if the DLC maps were the maps, Ghost would be a more popular game. Like Dome and Bayview and Scrapyard and I'm just we were playing the DLC at the event recently, and we're all just thinking, well, this is good blast, these maps. Do you know what I mean? We're all having a good laugh playing them. We were enjoying ourselves.
Yeah.
And I thought, I'll tell you what though, if you sat us all in that room and gave us Stonehaven and Siege, no one would have a smile on their face.
Yeah, no one would. And this is the thing, it's like that game, like everyone hates on it, right? And I suppose, when we're talking about like Titanfall 360 release, I suppose what my real advice is like, don't think that the next gen will bring this magical new experience that you can't get on the current gen, because it doesn't. And I've got both the PS4 and the Xbox One, and the PS4 is better, and I think for a lot of players, especially with Titanfall, that game might start to take off a bit more because it's coming to the 360, and I really hope that it does, because I think that it deserves it. And I think one of the only reasons why I haven't played it recently is because it's so easy for me to get a good gameplay on that game, because I think in comparison to, say, like Ghosts, I think Ghosts is made for shit kids, and we've talked about this before, so I'll just skip over it. Ghost is made for people who aren't good at shooting games, and that's fine. Make a game however you want. But Titanfall isn't really like that. Like, you actually have to be able to aim. The health is quite high. It's not Halo high, but it's like Juggernaut high.
Yeah.
So, I think when it comes out on 360, people might start playing it a bit more, start buying into the hype a little bit more, and for a game that deserves the attention, I think.
Yeah, the Titanfall deserves to be multi-platform. It's such a shame.
Yeah,
like,
it is a real shame.
Because I feel bad for the developers, because I think they could have a real blockbuster on their hands if it had been out on PS4. And it seems weird to say that, because other games have kind of managed to do that in a bit. But it's just at this time where Xbox isn't on top, and people, I don't know, it's weird because a lot of people didn't take to Titanfall. A lot of the Call of Duty crowd just didn't take to it, because they're like, well, this isn't what I like,
Yeah.
And so they've got that problem as well. So it's a shame. I mean, Titanfall's so solid in so many ways, and it's fun, but it just goes to show you how difficult it is to have a major impact in the gaming industry. They had a AAA studio, a AAA, for all intensive purposes, a AAA game.
Yeah.
And even with all of that talent, I mean, there's so many things about it we've discussed as to why it's fun. And to get that kind of level of making it fun, they had to balance so many things. And they nailed it in lots of ways. Like, some people would say, I don't like this and that. But in general, I think they nailed it. And all of that talent, and still, I know it's kind of still early days, but they didn't manage to blow everyone away.
Yeah, I think that's to do with, I don't think it fits easily into people's expectations of what a first-person shooter is now. Like, in a first-person shooter, especially a AAA one, it's almost an RPG as well as a shooter. Like,
most games are now.
Yeah, like playing a game just for the gameplay is rare. And I think if you make a game that's sort of lighter on that sort of progression, RPG, customization stuff, then I think people can turn off a little bit. And it's the Halo and Gears problem. It's that those games are fantastic, but they don't quite have the same hit that COD gives the casual gamer. And although we all know that Ghosts isn't COD's finest hour, like, it will still be more played than any other title. It's just because it's such an automatic thing. Like, COD is such a cultural juggernaut that until something else, like, there are other cultural juggernauts like World of Warcraft or League of Legends or something like that, but that's a PC crowd. That's like a different crowd.
Do you feel like Titanfall would have been helped by having a single player in terms of sales?
I think there's a lot of people that play COD that, like, there's the trifecta with COD. There's the campaign, there's the sort of zombies/extinction mode, and the multiplayer. I think there's way more people that play two of the three, but not necessarily the ones that you would predict. So I think if a game is short of that, then I think people can't get invested in it.
Well, it's a harder sale when it's a full retail game and it's just multiplayer.
Yeah.
In like to a lot of people, although not to be hypocritical, because I always say I just want COD multiplayer. I just want COD multiplayer, but that's because COD has established itself. And to be fair, COD 4 campaign was the shit.
It was.
And yeah, and also the others are really fun if you play them. But if it came to it now and they said we're dropping single player, I'd be like, okay, well, I don't mind, because I've already had my COD single player fun and I just want them to enhance the multiplayer. Whereas I think Titanfall, to get its brand into the mainstream a bit more, I feel like a solid single player would have helped that.
Yeah, like nothing. I think you're right there. I think that if you remember about COD 4, there's the whole soap, and especially for us Brits, there was like,
it was cool as fuck.
There was a COD game where the Brits are the fucking good guys, right? And by the end of the game, spoilers, it's an old game, like especially in Modern Warfare 2, right. What's funny about Modern Warfare 2's campaign is that the bad guy's an American, right? The antagonist is an American, and the British characters are the good guys. And you're like, this is weird. Like, you wouldn't see this in any other game.
But it was like a traitor, though, wasn't it?
Yeah, he was a traitor.
I mean, America wasn't the enemy, but that American was.
The bad guy was an American. I didn't say American was the bad guy. But yeah, like, those characters that got people invested in the world of Call of Duty, the Modern Warfare world, like, that helped the culture of the game, its imprint, its cultural footprint. People knew who. Yeah,
exactly. That's what I'm thinking.
That's why they're selling, like, you can look like Price, in Ghost.
And it was like you're saying, it was cool. Like, it made it cool. If you'd just given me COD 4 multiplayer, I would have said, yeah, this is kind of cool. But the single player made it really cool. Like, all gillied up. I mean, it's just, that's a gaming cultural phenomenon, just that level alone. It was the atmosphere of the single player, the music mixed with the real life kind of Marine SAS that all looked legit, and we hadn't really seen it on console at that quality, and the good voice acting. If Titanfall had that, although I'm not a single player person, and I do actually say I don't care about single player, I feel like it would have been easier to sell Titanfall.
Yeah.
But obviously they made that decision. They're like, multiplayer's big. Let's just do multiplayer.
Well,
That's what people want.
I think a lot of this comes down to, I've spoken about this on a different podcast, but I think a lot of it comes down to when people say, like you said it, they got a AAA developer. You got to remember that Respawn is a new studio, and actually the amount of staff they have is quite small. And I think they have the talent of a AAA developer, but I don't think they have the resources. And I think Titanfall needs to be looked at in the same way of, like, not an indie game, but like a new studio game. And I think they made the decision to make, like, it's a rule in filmmaking, so low budget filmmaking, don't try and make like Star Wars. Try and make the smallest film the best you can. Right? So the best writing, the best acting, the best lighting, the best sound, the best editing, the best photography, everything. But do what you can, but to its absolute best potential. And I think that's what Respawn did.
Maybe. I suppose that's just difficult, though, when you've got the guys who made COD 4 and who helped with Modern Warfare 2. And everyone's like, well, here we go. Here comes the saviours. Even, I mean, to be fair, if you looked at them as a brand new studio, then, I guess maybe there wouldn't have been that, like, these are the real deal, these guys. They are new. And obviously it's more complicated than just the CEO, Vince. Yeah. Vince Zampella, and maybe whoever he brought with him. There are a lot of people there who are newer, new to the scene, and don't have the pedigree of the old classics. So
I mean, but we're talking about it like Titanfall's a disappointment. To me, it's not a disappointment. Like, I was hyped for Titanfall because as a predominantly multiplayer gamer, I was not let down by Titanfall.
Yeah, no,
I thought it was a little bit light in certain areas, but you got to remember, look at it this way: Batman Begins did moderately well, right? And what followed it was The Dark Knight.
Yeah.
You know, so I think that we need to give them a little. I think what people object to is the hype train that EA put behind it. Like it was, you know, they realised this is why EA are.
You can't have a game without a hype train now, though, can you? Because obviously the shareholders are like, why are you not trying to maximise sales?
Yeah, I mean, I think EA is stealing a march on Activision in their strategist department because they're realising, you know, they picked up on the fact that COD players liked this developer, right? Or liked the concept of the people that made the games that they used to love.
Yeah,
and they pushed it. You know, they put, you know, in loads of press releases and press footage, it was like Respawn, the old Infinity Ward. You know, like it was really like smart. And I think people react badly when something's like really overhyped and then like falls short on delivery. I think people get annoyed with that. But you know, as far as I'm concerned, I just hope that it gets better. I hope that.
Well, Titanfall was a brand and a game.
Yeah,
you mean?
Yeah. I hope that.
Yeah, it's difficult. I mean, it's almost to the point where, though, as well, like if all my friends were playing it, I'd happily play it with them.
Yeah.
But people aren't hyped about it. Whereas COD 4, you wouldn't have to convince anyone to come hop on for an evening, would you? They'd just be there.
Yeah.
So, although in some ways it's really fun and I like it, it's just a different era now. And, you know, things get popular differently to how it used to work. And you've got to evolve with that. Like, no one can really predict how things are going to work in that style. But, I don't know, like, things like DayZ would never have been able to happen 10 years ago. Like, it wouldn't. Like, no one would have ever found out about that guy's mod. I mean, he made a mod for a military sim. And that would have been the end of it. But because of YouTube and the internet and then PC gaming gets more popular and blah blah and all these things fall into place and boom, you can have a phenomenon like that or any other game like Rust. So I mean, how many copies of Rust sold? I mean, it's like a version of DayZ that's slightly different, that's not even really finished either. Like it really goes to show, like for me, how things like DayZ and the survival game genre and other things that are new are really where it's at. Like, because you can, like, compare a game to Call of Duty to a game like DayZ. DayZ has sold over 2 million copies now, I think, in, like, a few months. Now, for a game that's PC only and also requires a pretty good PC, that's pretty ridiculous. Like, it's unheard of. And for that to happen on a game that even the developer said, this game's not finished, if you buy it, it will break all the time and we can't promise anything in particular and it will probably be released in like a year, and then compare that to a AAA standard franchise release that might sell a tenth of that but is a polished, finished game that works in every way. It's like people willing to forgive all the rough edges for the new experience that they haven't had before, the survival style, sandboxy but also kind of open-ended thing, you know, even if it's broken. And I mean, Minecraft's such a simple game, really. Like when you come down to the, you know, if you had the best programmers in the world before Minecraft came out and said, make us a game, and they made Minecraft, and you'd be like, what, was this like your high school project or something? Can I have a proper game, please? But it's the experience which is what pushes gaming, and where AAA titles like Titanfall, as incredible as they are, you need to do something that evolves, because that's what people really want. They want new experiences as well, like not just to play a game that's good. Like, I mean, I don't know how well the whole virtual reality thing will take off, if it will. Like that freaking But like we said before in the podcast, for me, the selling point of that will be the experiences. It's not about making. It's not about making COD for the bloody. What's it called?
Oculus.
Yeah, it's not about making Skyrim for the Oculus. Don't get me wrong, that'd be fun. It's about the next gen experience.
The next thing, the thing that you can't do,
and that you've never been able to do.
Yeah.
And that is only possible with this technology. That's the selling point of new tech. Not like... Because basically, COD Ghosts is a 360 game with high-res textures. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's what it is. There's no innovation in terms of utilising the new technology to a potential that adds depth. Like I always said to people when the new gen systems came out, and like they're saying, where do you think, games are just going to look better and look better and look better? And I say to people, look, games are getting photorealistic, and don't get me wrong, with better frame rate and even better textures, they'll look even more photorealistic.
Yeah.
But where it's going to go when it goes forward is that making the world realistic and behave realistically.
Yeah.
And that's only possible with the processing power. Like, I'm not even funny, but as amazing as The Last of Us or something looks, in The Last of Us, for example, for a game, if I pick up a glass of water and throw it at a wall, I want it to behave like it would in the real world.
Yeah.
And I want to be able to do that. And I want to... If I smash things, obviously they're always working on physics technology, so like things crash realistically and whatever. But for me, that's when a game will feel real, when I feel like the world is real.
Yeah.
Because it already looks real for sometimes. Like, even if it doesn't look real, it's like, it looks real, but just badly textured, if you know what I mean? Because it has the 3D. But if you gave me a world that behaves like things I expect to behave in the real world, that's where I get immersed.
Yeah.
Like when your character comes out of the water and he's wet and then it dries over time, depending on how sunny it is, that is the realism.
Yeah.
And where games go, rather than like, oh yeah, we can push 4K resolution or something.
Yeah, no, I don't.
Who gives a shit?
I mean, just as a quick point, I don't think that. Okay, so I think that all that experience stuff and all that immersion, is for hardcore gamers. And the reason for me, I can't say the reason, but one of the reasons why COD was popular in the first place was because of how quick and easy it is to get in and out of games. So your play session with COD can be as short as one game, or it can be many games. And with those like deeper immersion games like Skyrim, the reason I didn't play Skyrim properly is because doing anything takes forever, and that's the point, and that's fine. And I would love to be able to play a game like that wasn't just endless fetch quests, but like if it was like a great game that I wanted to spend that much time in the world, like that's fine for me because of how my life is structured. But for most people that have jobs, girlfriends, responsibilities, other things like that, these deeper like games aren't as appealing.
I think, but I suppose what I'm saying is not more like I want to be heavily immersed in it. It's like if things just act realistically without even thinking about it, it feels more real. Like for instance, when a building blows up in Battlefield, like you don't notice like every little texture and everything that's happening, but because it's happening in the subconscious, it automatically feels more realistic without me. Like if I play Battlefield, it's a slightly more realistic environment than COD, and it's not like I'm thinking, oh, I'm so much more immersed. It's just because things are reacting in that physical way. And I know what you're saying in terms of, do you want that immersion? But I suppose it's more, I don't know, like it looks good, but you don't need to, like the end user doesn't need to notice that.
Yeah.
It's just that's part of it.
It's like you can compare it to like a film score. Now, like I went to film school, so one of the things they say about film scores, like the music, is that it's bad if you notice it.
Yeah, for the most part, unless it's like an epic moment.
Yeah, unless,
like, oh yeah,
unless
this music's
it, like,
getting me going.
It itself becomes the focus. You know.
Yeah, there are some films you watch, and the films there's some form of music throughout.
Yeah.
And you don't even really think about it. Like obviously, movies have soundtracks, and so there are some songs and even some orchestral pieces that you really recognise. Like the I don't know, Star Wars.
Yeah,
like you recognise that, and yeah, you notice that. But yeah, that is always a thing with film. Like obviously, I actually studied music for film as part of my degree, and I was always fascinated by it, like how the music portrays the emotion, and it adds such a different level of immersion to it without people realizing that's what's getting them immersed in it.
Yeah.
Like if you watch things silently, I remember I actually recreated a whole and everything for a Bruce Lee film. Well, not the whole film. There was like a 15-minute section, and the assignment was we got given a 15-minute Bruce Lee fight silent, and we had to create all the sound for it. And it was a great laugh, obviously. We're like swinging bamboo sticks and cracking twigs and belts. And I remember for the sound of like this guy gets like impaled on a stick.
Yeah.
And what I did is I mixed I had like a sloshy sound from like some water or something, and I mixed that with cracking a cauliflower. Like if you crack cauliflower, it kind of sounds like you'd imagine a bone snapping.
Yeah.
And then when I did that sound and I put that in the final mix, I was like, that sounds awesome. Like that really sounded like the skin got penetrated and squashed, and then the bone cracked, and it's like. Oh, but when you're watching, you're not thinking, oh, all of these sounds have been made. Like when you watch a cartoon, every single sound is artificially produced.
Yeah, it's called that's Foley, that process.
Yeah, but even with the music should be like that. Like it's almost part of the Foley.
Yeah.
And it's incredible really to think about it. Like you don't notice, but like next time you watch a cartoon, like you'll hear people's footsteps in the cartoon, and you're like, someone had to create that.
Yeah.
Like
someone had to time that as well.
And like that, you know, that someone's life is dedicated to making this sound real, and I'm not even knowing it's going on, but it's just adding to the value of it all.
A great one to watch is like if you've ever watched the Lord of the Rings special features, as they show you the Foley recording of like a lot of the stuff for that. Yeah. Like when they're shooting the arrow, the Uruk-hai are at Helm's Deep and they're shooting the arrows, and the elves shoot back. It's like they had to do all the like every part of a sound, like that. Like we don't just record someone shooting an arrow. Yeah. We record what we think, like a combination of sounds, like you were saying, like a combination of sounds that like suits that action for the screen.
Yeah, well, they always do that with like monsters and things. Yeah. Like often it'll be the sound of a T-Rex mixed with the growl of a dog, then lowered down 2 pitches and reversed.
Yeah,
and that will be their sound, because you want something that's not recognizable but still has those elements of what you'd expect from like an animal or something. And yeah, I always found that fascinating. Like that's something I would have happily have gone into. And yeah, I just love the fact that, I mean, they do it in music as well, combining sounds. My lecturer always used to say, like, hip-hop was the one that always combined sounds for the first time in a way, like 2 different sounds to make a new sound.
Yeah.
Instead of like every instrument sounds a certain way, but then in hip hop, and then obviously with the invention of synthesized music like keyboards and electronic music, people were starting to play with waveforms, and that's giving a new sound that you haven't heard before. Like originally, if you listen to like an old keyboard and it does like the synth wave sounds, it's like, well, that sounds so basic. But then when you mix that, like a lot of these amazing like bass lines and things you hear in like dubstep and whatever, there are actually a ton of different synthesized sounds mixed together to create a new sound. And that's why a lot of the reason why electronic dance music is still popular and grows, because it's the only form of music that can produce a new sound.
Yeah,
because you can't do that with a guitar. Like, well, you can if you want, but you have to play around with it electronically, and then it becomes electronic music.
Yeah.
And so that's one of the things I always found, like, traditional rock music got stale for me. Like, I love guitars. I'm a guitarist myself. Guns N' Roses, rock music. You know, I appreciate the art, but there comes a point, it's like, what can it evolve into? Like, I always want innovation, and
Yeah.
to be something to tantalize me creatively, and you can only play so many riffs before you're still playing the same 8 notes over and over again on a guitar that sounds pretty much the same.
Yeah, I don't know. It depends on how you use music, doesn't it? Like, because obviously I play guitar as well, and like, there are certain records that I have that I'll just like. I'm quite an obsessive person, so I'll listen to the same record over and over again to like completely absorb what I think I can learn from it, or what it gives me. You know, like they're less like, because music's so powerful and so immediate, it makes you feel certain things. Like
Feels.
Yeah, like you're listen to a certain record to make you feel a certain way for a period of time.
Well,
But there are records that I keep back, that the sound is never boring.
yeah, well, I mean, that is when I'm expressing how I felt about that. That is very much from because that's what I get from music.
Yeah.
Right. Whereas, I mean, I remember there used to be this woman at work, and obviously being a music person myself, and that's the way I see music. I like it evolving, exciting, different. Then I spoke to this woman at work. She was slightly older, and she said, "Oh, I don't like any new music." And I'm like, how can you not like any new music? And she said, "Oh, I just like to know the words of the songs and stuff." And I'm thinking, yeah, but at what point in your life did that cut off happen?
Yeah.
Where you went, that's it. Now, no new sounds for me, just everything that's already in my brain. Because for me, music is that kind of exciting. It's exciting to me to hear even a melody that somehow surprises me, or although I like what I'm expecting as well. You don't want it too different, otherwise you're like, what the fuck's this? Like when I first heard dubstep or something, you're like, what the fuck is this? Like you evolve to it, but that's what it was for me, and I couldn't get it around my head. She said, because what she said to me is, she said, "Oh, there'll come a point where you won't like any new music either." I'm like, well, you can't say that. Like, I like new music now, when I was in like my 20s and later 20s, and I just can't see myself as a 40-year-old man not liking new. Like, yeah, I might not like what the kids like, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But as someone who's more of a musician, a musical person, I'm always going to enjoy that kind of stimulus, that musical, emotional ride I haven't been taken on. Whereas she uses music as just like a comfort blanket. You know?
Yeah.
So, yeah, it does depend on what you view music as. Like, sometimes it's to transport you back to a nostalgic time. I can't get the feeling I get from listening to an incredible Guns N' Roses song that I could get from some new dance track. And so it's not as if I don't appreciate that old thing for what it is, but I enjoy the new as well.
Yeah.
But
I mean, I've started opening up a little bit more to sort of like newer music, like especially electronic music. There was a time where I just thought electronic music was made by people who couldn't play instruments, or actually there was sort of more of a judgmental assumption.
yeah, that was always the thing.
No,
that was something I hated, though, wasn't it?
Well,
It was the worst.
It's just the judgmental observation that I made was, I was like, these people don't have the stamina or strength of will to put up with the suffering of learning an instrument.
Yeah, they won't become a master of an instrument, which in itself is an incredible. You know, you look up to incredible guitarists.
Yeah.
You're like, wow, that's you've hit mastery level.
Yeah.
And that's cool.
And actually, what I've found is that as I've got older, just because something's difficult to do doesn't mean that it's worth the effort. And just because something is easy to do doesn't mean that it's irrelevant. So as I've got older, I've kind of become more open to like electronic music, because anything that's sort of like a song, anything that has a meaning that I can try and root about in it to hear, like I'm fine with. Like, there's a Robin song called "Dancing on My Own," and I just think it's as a song, it's almost perfect.
Yeah, this is what always used to get me when I used to create music with other people as well, when I was in a band. Like, for some people, if they're musicians especially, they're like, if the song's not complicated enough musically, they don't rate it.
Yeah.
And it's like, but but for me, because I don't view music in that sense, like Dancing on My Own, for example, is probably a 3 to 4 chord song.
Yeah, it's
so
a
technically, yeah. So if you break it down to its key, it's like, what is this? And you learn that once you play a lot of songs on guitar. It's like every song's just 4 chords, and it's almost always the same amount of steps between the chords. So you're listening to the same thing in a different key with different singing over it. And so because some people are like that, I remember when I was in this more kind of metal-y style band, and like the lead guitarist, because I was a rhythm guy, was always trying to create the most elaborate, fastest solo you could ever imagine.
Yeah.
I'm like, look, man, just because it's fast doesn't make it a good song.
No.
Like, let's create a feeling here, an emotion from the music, and they're just like, nah, faster, like, triple bass, 5 bass pedals, I don't know, like on the drums, and it's. But I love the beauty in a 4-chord song if it's sonically done in a way that is new to me. Like, for instance, I really enjoy pop music sometimes because from a musical standpoint, what they do technically is they create this amazing sounding like melody or bass or sweeping bass, and I'm like, God, that sounds so crisp and new. And it's like, and I appreciate what goes into that technically, because obviously I did an audio engineering degree, so I appreciate how difficult it is to achieve that. I mean, these people paid ridiculous amounts to master and produce, but then also I appreciate that, but then I also think, I don't know, when Kanye West starts up, or Dizzy Rascal, for example, he was a good one to look at, because when he did Boy in the Corner, he would go to his studio and he'd be like, I've come up with this beat, and it was using like his Roland 808, beatbox, whatever, and they said, oh, okay, we've got to edit this and change this to sound like this, and he's like, no, I want it to sound like that. Like, I want it to sound like it does on the keyboard.
Yeah.
Like, don't edit the drum. I want it to sound like, I want it to sound cheap and tacky. And it's also like, what do you try and do? Do you try and keep things raw, or do you try and produce this what becomes a generic sound, but is also very enjoyable?
Yeah,
like Katy Perry songs or things like that. That there's so much, an incredible amount of artistry and work that goes into a lot of pop music that people who just turn their nose up at it are just like, make me cringe, because they don't appreciate what it is, but yet they'll listen to some rock song which is basically 4 chords played on a guitar, and it's like, well, I appreciate that as well, but then you can't snobbishly look at something.
I mean, if I were to try and like conceptualize it, I think some people who listen to like rock music, you get this with rock guys a lot, it's like, I'm one of them, so I know what I'm talking about, is that I think people who are into rock music, or a certain genre of rock music, are into it because they don't fetishize, I don't say that in a negative way, they don't fetishize the sound. What they're fetishizing is some sort of human connection, empathy with the artist.
Yeah, with the art. Because it is an art form to be a skilled musician.
Yeah.
For sure. Like, I would listen to a guitar riff and be like, blows my mind, because I know what it takes to do it.
Yeah.
And it's just like, that is a master, like, of an art. And yeah, there is that. To be fair, I understand that. But then also, you've got to see the skill and the beauty in a well-produced 4-chord pop song, like Dancing on Their Own or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I just think, especially with that song, I was like, it's so, like, I engage with her. Like, I think what she's done with the sound, the like that,
right?
Yeah, that synth sound, is that what she's done is she's used modern sounds to give the effect of what a song does.
But this is the thing that gets me as well. It's like, people don't realise it's not the artist that's making the song. Like,
no, she does.
But I bet she didn't produce it.
No, she does. She does everything. I looked this up. She does everything.
Yeah,
most of the times they don't know. I know what you're saying.
Yeah, it's like all of your favourite pop songs aren't made by the person who's singing them. Like, they often will. Some artists obviously have a lot more creative input than others in what it is. But I suppose just from a technician's viewpoint, I'm like, the real talented people, you don't know who they are, and a lot of them like it like that.
Yeah.
Like, there was this one producer, songwriter who'd written. I mean, people do know about some of them, but there was this one guy who I'd never heard of, even though I know quite a few of these kind of producers. And then you look through his catalogue of what he'd done, and you're like, this guy's a superstar. Like, this guy who's written all these songs is a superstar, but no one would know his name. No, even I don't know. Even if you recited it to me now, I'd be like, who was it? I can't remember. Yeah. And I'm like, I love that. I just love, because that would be me. Like, if I was a music producer, that would be me. Yeah. I would not want to be the singer. I would want to be, and that's the person who's the real artist. Like, I appreciate that the artists can be as well. I mean, obviously, talented singers and songwriters. Not every pop artist is some puppet or whatever.
Yeah.
But it's that's the beauty of it. Like, for me, so obviously a lot of people like a lot of types of music, but I suppose what grinds my gears is the snobbish way of looking at other forms of music because XYZ. I don't know.
No, there is one genre that I will completely prejudge, and being like a rational person, you know, like you know my content. Like there is one thing that I will just make a massive sweeping generalization about, and that's jazz. Like a certain kind of jazz. Like there's a certain kind of like.
Well, like anyone who's liked jazz after it's actually a social movement.
Yeah.
Like and just likes it for the fact it's jazz.
No, there's a really famous clip of a bassist called Tal Wilkenfield. She's like a young bass prodigy, and she's sort of like. She's playing with one drummer and just her, and she's in like a little room where people are watching them, and they get in a bit of a groove for a little bit, for about 8 bars, and it's like they're playing like the most generic 8th note funk,
right?
And then they fuck it up because they're trying to improvise, and they play.
Well, they don't have the skill to.
Well, no, they're obviously really skilled, but they're doing it on purpose, and it sounds completely out of time. It's called like the drummer is apparently
so like forced.
Yeah,
jazz,
totally forced, and it's just the worst sounding thing ever. You could not do a better impression of what it sounds like to listen to a 14-year-old who can't play in time. Try and play.
Right. Yeah.
Could not.
Okay, I get what you what they.
And when they fuck up, the whole crowd goes crazy, like they're in on some secret knowledge about how amazing it is. And what annoys me is I'm just like, that was shit. Don't be suckered into this like jazz. Don't be suckered by jazz. Right, don't be.
Well, but so basically, they're celebrating breaking the norm because they went out of sync and out of key.
Yeah, and I'm just like
instead of what the music actually is.
Yeah, and I'm just like, this is madness. I swear, most people are only into jazz because it's seen as like this elite thing that like not very many people are into. And there is jazz that I really like. That I'm like, when I listen to Miles Davis. He's improvisational, but I can tell that he's trying to find something. Right, he's trying to find a perfect little run, or he's trying to find a perfect little vamp, like that just sums up what he's feeling at that moment. And I can put up with him fumbling around and then hitting it, you know. And I can appreciate that. But what I can't appreciate is just like 2 people wanking in public.
Well, that beep up the back.
Yeah. Well, I can't fucking stand it. I'm just like, oh god, no, stop. Like, and I'll just prejudge people that are into it.
Yeah,
you know.
I guess there is some things like, I mean, obviously, as much as I love sometimes pop music and stuff, I mean, some of the really cheesy, overly generic stuff, like it makes me cringe. But at the same time, I know what it's there for. It's there for people who just want to enjoy the silliness of it. I don't know, like Flowrider songs these days. I mean, to be fair, I'd always defend Flowrider as just, you know, throwaway party music. That's what he's turned himself into. But then he's remixed all the songs now, hasn't he? Like, you spin me right round, like whatever. Everything's now remixed. But recently, they did a remix of It's a New Day, It's a New Dawn.
Oh, yeah.
And they just messed it up. Like, I was thinking, okay, if you're going to use that sample from an absolute beast of a song, like a classic, I was like, well, you know, grab the essence of it and use that in your genre. But they didn't. They just kind of used a bit of the sample and then just went, okay, there's that sample and here's the generic sound again. And it's like, oh, you've ruined the song. Yeah. Like, it's disrespectful to the song. Right, there's a few songs that if people remix them, Like, I'm all for remixes, but do a good job. Like, if they did it with one of my favourite songs is "Heard Through the Grapevine."
Yeah.
If someone did some like cheesy mix to that, I would be like, no, it's too much. That's too far. Like, you can't touch that kind of thing.
Yeah, there are sacred cows, aren't there? There's things that
yeah.
you're just like, look, don't make this into some sort of postmodern cash grab mess, or I will, or I will just like, we'll find you. We will find you and kill you.
And that was from someone who's very, you know, me. I'm very open to the idea of Flow Rider just remixing old songs, and now it's just some party crap. Like, okay, I get it, but not the classics, man. Like,
what would be total sacrilege? I mean, I'm pretty sure that Madonna's version of American Pie was total.
Well, it's not too bad. Do you know? But when people do it right, it's amazing. Like what Kanye was doing when he first started producing hip hop, like taking those soul songs and then making these incredible like beats to them, and that was like, yeah, this is how you do it. Like, this is sampling hip hop.
Yeah.
Because originally the Kanye sound, obviously now it's gone like really left field, but it was soul music.
Yeah.
Mixed into hip hop, and I remember back in the day trying to replicate that sound because I loved it, and I used to take these samples of old soul songs and like pitch them up like he did, and then sample them up and cut them up and then do that over a hip-hop beat. And I made a couple of similar sounding kind of tracks, and I was like, well, that's the Kanye West sound. And that is taking old music and then giving it a new... I mean, I'm sure there were some people out there who were like, how dare they take my favourite soul track from like 1960 and like make him sound like a chipmunk and then put a dance beat on it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I was like, no, I love that.
There's I think the best that anyone's ever done that, like taken old sounds and made them like into something totally original, because there's a point at which like a collage becomes its own thing. It's like there's a guy called DJ Shadow, I'm sure you know who he is, but like he did a record that was like all original music using like other people's samples and stuff, and that's the best I've ever heard that done, is because it was a completely new record.
I think DJ Shadow rings a bell. They have like one big hit or something.
No, he wasn't like a dance DJ. It's like a hip hop DJ. But he had the great record that was just him, and it was like everyone in hip hop, like Public Enemy and all the new guys as well, were like, he's just taking it to the next level. Like he really did take it, because like although you might be able to identify individual sounds, like it's a totally new song in a totally different key with a different, you know, drums or whatever. Like he's made his own music but using other people,
more taking influence even than a remix.
It wasn't remixing, it was just like sampling and his original sounds that he'd make himself and making new songs. And I was like, that's how you do it. Like that's... It's
funny because that, I mean, going back to Kanye West, because he's for me, he's like, I mean, the personality is very grating, but when I was like in my producer phase, and I still love like producing music, he was kind of someone that was, you know, a genius, and he still is. Unfortunately, in some ways, he's kind of lost it a bit, maybe because he's gone so far left that he's in his own bubble now. But it's funny because he actually, on his new album, there's a few songs which are like really jarring, like really tough to listen to first time round. And normally songs grow on you, but it's weird because there was one song he did, and some drum and bass DJs remixed part of the song, and they've just made it so much better.
Yeah.
And you're like, that wouldn't have happened with old Kanye West. Like, no one would be able to take his sample and then done better. And I was thinking, I think Kanye West is almost like a social experiment now. He's like an artistic experiment rather than an actual song producer.
Yeah, I think his problem is that he takes his own legacy and his own image too seriously.
Yeah, I mean,
that's his main problem. Is he's not humble about it.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have to tell me. I've seen all the interviews. I've watched them all. Like all the interviews where he goes nuts over his fashion designing and how I'm Walt Disney, I'm whatever, and fucking all right, mate, we'll just make us another beat.
Yeah.
And it is a shame, because that, for me, like, as much as he is nuts and he's like, oh, you can't deny I'm a genius, like, okay, yeah, you kind of were, and in some ways he's just gone off the rails, but you kind of have to if you're gonna be like that. Like, I know, like Lady Gaga or something, you've got to be a bit kind of Michael Jackson, Prince, you know, all the biggest ones. For the most part, if you're going to be that good, you normally have to. It is normally related to being a bit. You know, you've got to be a bit out there. Otherwise, what makes you different? I don't know.
Yeah, no, I do. It's interesting you mentioned Prince, because I really like Prince, but I like a lot of earlier Prince, and I think that he's such a better musician than he is a person, if you know what I mean. Like, he's a terrible person. Like, he's an absolute, complete psycho prick. Like, he is. He's a fucking nasty piece of work. He treats people like shit. He always has. He always will. But there are songs of his that I like where I can tell for those 3 minutes he's not that.
Yeah, and he's also like a genius.
Yeah, he's completely isolated by his talent. Like, loads of people like to talk about how good they are, but you don't know what good is until like someone like Hendrix or Prince or someone who can literally, or Stevie Wonder, like literally learn an instrument in a day. You know, and like, because they can play so many other different instruments, they can figure out exactly what role that instrument should have in their music. I'm like, that has such musical sensibility that most people will never even come close to that sort of knowledge. Like, that's someone who's special, you know, like they have a genius level affinity with this.
Yeah, even just someone who's a natural music producer, I feel, has that. Like, the best ones, like, they'll make something, you just be like, oh, that's it. Like, you just like a hip hop producer would be like that, but not with a instrument as such, but with the tools they have in front of them, they can create what they need to make. Like, some of them are musicians. There are some you get that are more musician-y than others. Some are just like put samples together, but they've got enough musical knowledge to make sure it's all in the same key and it's all like that. But yeah, like someone who can take the tools and then can just create, you know, something that other people would struggle to do. I think that's kind of like musical ability. It's just some have it, but yeah, there's the point of, does it take away from your enjoyment of it if you know they're an arsehole? Like, it's tough, because in some ways you feel it does a little. Like, I can't, if I listen to Kanye West, for example, I have to separate the man and the music, but I can love the music, and it's supposed like that of other things, films, whatever, you know.
Yeah,
but then you think, oh, it's so shallow, because I'm really enjoying what this person can express, but at the same time I'm like, no, you're a douche or something.
Yeah, you're a massive douche. Like, I don't know, I find that kind of difficult. Like, I can't, you know, this is the reason why George Harrison is my favourite Beatle and not John Lennon. Like, most people's favourite Beatle is John Lennon, right?
Because I got my mind set on you, because that's such a tune.
Like, most people, it's like John Lennon, but for me, it's like, especially because I'm a huge fan of George Harrison, the guitar player.
McCartney's popular as well, though, but I suppose maybe that's because Lennon's dead and he doesn't.
McCartney's popular because he's in the Beatles. If he was in some other band, like imagine.
You can't say that.
Imagine
he was a songwriter.
No, hear me out. Imagine if like McCartney's only musical legacy was fucking Wings.
Right.
Like, people would be like, this guy's a knobhead. Like,
oh, you mean things he done after the Beatles?
Yeah, like
I don't know. His Christmas song's pretty cool. But yeah, I know what you're saying in that sense, but I don't think you can understate his influence in the music that he wrote for the Beatles.
The funny thing is he's quite clearly the best singer in the Beatles, and he makes their great records sound even better. But I posited this with a friend, like another, like, this guy's a session guitar player. We talk about music all the time. And I was like, do you think Paul McCartney gets a bad rap? And he's like, because he's worked within the industry, he's like, nope. He's like, nope. If only people knew.
Yeah, I suppose there is that, but you know, if you've done something that incredible, it's always going to stick with you, isn't it? Like, that had that much of an influence on the world.
Yeah, but you know, there are people that can do that manage to have humility. I don't think. I suppose that plays into, like, I've got this value system that says just because you're an artist or just because you make art that might be significant, that doesn't excuse bad behaviour.
I suppose that the problem with that though is that they get surrounded, or they surround themselves with yes men, or people that just will treat them like they're the best thing since sliced bread, or the sun shines out their arse. That's more from the company you keep, I feel, as much as, because you can't be like that in a social structure where people don't think you're top dog. You just can't. It won't work socially.
Yeah.
But if you can get away with things because of that, I mean, obviously a lot of quite well-known people, when they get up to all kinds of stuff, you're like, fucking ain't getting away with that because you're famous. It's because of that kind of mentality. I mean, I don't think it's so bad now, because there are so many people that are quote-unquote known due to the internet that celebrity isn't seen as much of a thing. Everyone kind of feels a lot more like, even if you are incredibly talented, you're still just a person who's... Whereas back in the day, it was a lot easier to have these icons, like Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
I mean, he was like a mythical being,
Yeah.
And whereas now, because you see they're on Twitter and they're like, oh, this guy's an arsehole, blah, blah, and you see their human side, it's like, oh, he's not this demigod.
Yeah.
It's like he also likes to eat Weetabix in the morning,
Yeah.
So,
I know that you must get this, but I've started to get it a little bit now, where people... Obviously, my channel is small, but it's popular, in terms of percentage-wise. So I've got people leaving comments on my channel where they're like, I love you, Eddie. And that always makes me feel a little uncomfortable.
Cringe.
Not because I don't appreciate the show of affection, but because I'm like... Dude, you do know that when I made that video, I was in my boxers and a t-shirt. Do you know what I mean?
And I just ate a pot noodle.
It was the least glamorous thing in the world. And I wrote it in 5 minutes because that's how I work. And it's all to do with how.
And I just strangled a kitten.
How you see yourself and how other people see you. It's just kind of weird. I know you must have had that.
It's weird because I'll get it in streams quite a lot, because people get really obviously my stream's watching and listening now, so sorry guys, don't mean to talk about any of you weirdly, but people get more attached to a streamer because it's live and interactive, and you really feel like you are hanging out with them, which is also the appeal, which is why I like certain streams, because they're the kind of people I would enjoy hanging around. So it's a lot more like that in streams, actually. You'll just get some random pop-up, be like, oh, I love you or something. I'm thinking, who is this? It's obviously a kid, I suppose. And if it's not, it's some mentally deranged adult. And then you're thinking, I kind of appreciate that they would just randomly say that. I'm like, please don't say that. What I would love is... Now everyone's going to say I love you now.
No, they are,
but what I love is someone saying, oh man, I appreciate that video you did.
Yeah,
I enjoyed that. Or someone on my top 5 snipers I did today, someone said, oh yeah, I've been waiting for this one, it's a good series. I'm like, and that's the payoff. Do you know what I mean? That is the payoff. I mean, as well as obviously doing well is good, but the payoff is when you've made someone's evening a bit interesting for 10 minutes. And even when streaming as well, because I know a lot of people that watch streams are bored or not well or even housebound. And watching streams is a good thing to take your mind off and also not feel like you're on your own. Streamers, don't mean patronising if I'm providing some sort of charity service by entertaining people, but that helps. I get a bit of job satisfaction from that. If I know that there are people, sometimes I'll get people message me and they'll say, oh, thanks for streaming, I was ill and I enjoyed watching, or I remember back in a few years ago, actually, some kid say, oh, the message was way too deep. It was a YouTube message, and he's something along the lines of, oh, I haven't got any male role models or anything in my life, and he said something along the lines of, I kind of look up to you a bit and this kind of thing. And on one hand, I'm like, oh, I appreciate that. On the other hand, I'm like, whoa, right, I've got some responsibility here. Because no matter if I want it or not, if you're in the public and there's a certain amount of viewership, there are going to be some people who will view you like that. And it's why I don't always tend to swear too much. I don't try and be too... Because I actually remember as well, back when I did a bit of Minecraft, there was this kid who like linked me his Minecraft video. And I was like, okay, someone's linked me their Minecraft video. And this kid was literally about 5, and like he was watching Minecraft on his phone of me, and he was just talking to the camera going, yeah, I really like this YouTuber, like he's really cool. And then you just think, Jesus Christ, I feel so responsible.
Yeah.
Like I'm entertaining the next generation.
Yeah.
And yeah, there is that kind of difficulty, but that's just part of. But then I also, like a lot of the older audience who watch, or you know, I'd say 25 plus is an older audience for YouTube in general, or maybe 30. Like when I really appreciate when I know they're watching as well, because it makes me feel more like I'm making something for people I can relate to, and not just being like a father figure or a big brother figure. You know, like I'm making also content for people who are just like, oh yeah, cool, that was interesting. I don't know, it's I like, obviously there's less responsibility if you know people who are older are watching, but I do feel a sense of responsibility if I know that people who are teenage or whatever, like I can't say, I don't want to go on Twitter and be like, oh yeah, F this, F that, just told my mum to F off, you know, or something like that. When, because whether you want to be or not, you're someone's maybe not role model, but even if it's just one person, you know, you influence the people who follow you, whether you want to or not, and that's kind of what you just accept if you're going to be in the public eye on the internet.
Yeah, it's weird. It's like one of the reactions that I get quite a lot is that I like to think that when I say something in a video, say I make a judgment, like I make a big sweeping judgment, that most people are knowledgeable when they watch my stuff, that it's supposed to be like everything I say should be taken with a grain of salt because it's in a certain context where I'm trying to make people laugh. And then like, but because I like justify it, or I make an argument for something, quite often I get people being like, how can you say this when this and da 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 da? And when I write my commentaries, I do it so that I try and plug as many of those holes as possible. So I try and like, I know what you're going to say if I say this, so I'll make a joke about me being like, I'll take the piss out of myself so that other people don't get the chance to do it, or don't, you know, feel the need to put serious comment is serious in my fucking, you know, comment section.
Because there is that section of the audience that when you start defending yourself, they're like, oh, don't do it, man, you don't have to. You know, like sometimes when I'm streaming, or if I watch another streamer, especially one who's got a lot of people in there, and sometimes like some kid will just like write some stupid shit, and then they'll just be like, and they'll just reply to them in a real sarcastic, almost insulting way. And it's like, at some level I'm like, because sometimes I'll do it in response if I'm having a bad day or something.
If you're already annoyed,
and I'm like, look, and you just rip into the comment, and then you think, oh crap, you know, they probably didn't actually mean it in that way. They're probably like my biggest fan, and they're just trying to be funny. And then you're like, I feel bad. But at the same time, when I watch someone and they've obviously been trolled a little bit, and then they go off on the person, and then afterwards they're like, oh, I'm sorry guys, I wasn't being serious. But you're like, 90% of the stream was very entertained by that. Like, I thought it was hilarious. Like, I like it when they go off on people a bit, because at the end of the day, if you're gonna have the balls to post in a chat, you're like, you're a free agent, mate. Like, you're free. You know, the Lions can do what they... So if you're going to get involved, sometimes that's not good because I think, it puts people off commenting and talking. But at the same time, if you're going to put something that's a bit, you know, then it's open season on you, mate. Like, you can expect it.
I think with like, especially because obviously I mainly stream COD when I stream. Like, I don't have a different audience that isn't like... Because I'm not as well known on Twitch anywhere near as I am on YouTube. Like, people will watch my gameplay, and because I have the ability to play quite well, people expect me to be like a COD gameplay guy, right? And they don't know my channel. They don't know that it's supposed to be like comedic and stuff like that. So quite often I'll get the Twitch comments that are like, "This guy sucks," and when I read that, I'll reply to it, but I'll be like, there's just no need to be like that. Like, there's no need to come and be mean in someone's chat. There's just, like, I think COD has a very specific, especially on Twitch, has a very specific audience that 80% of them are fine and a joy to stream for. But, you know, that 20%, and it is about 20%, it's not a small amount. There's quite a few of them that are just, like, they go on to Twitch and call everyone nerds. Like, oh, don't rage at the game, nerd. Like,
yeah.
You're in a...
To be fair, though, it's like, am I really the person who needs to tell them they need to grow up? Or can't I just ignore it and let them learn for themselves? Like,
Yeah, no, that's true. But I think it's when I've had it where one guy has, like, taken over a chat, you know, with like his negativity, and it ruins everyone else's time. And I'm just like,
yeah,
you just don't need to do that. Like, I'm not pretending to be PwnStars.com. Like, I'm not. It's fine. You say you're better than me. You might be.
To be honest, I think even like wasting the brain cell on contemplating that thought is too much for me.
Yeah.
You know, like you just killed a couple of brain cells that were harvested from the energy that was produced by you eating calories. You know, you put a lot of effort into existing, and now you've had to waste several calories on...
Yeah, I've used essential energy and time.
All that time you thought about that as well. Your whole body was having to function, and that's a lot.
Yeah.
Like, you know, the blood's pumping round, and all of that goes towards telling this guy, you know, you don't have to be a troll, mate. Like, honestly, I think I've just been in it so long.
Yeah.
That I completely see through it all, and I'm so hard-skinned with it. Like, don't get me wrong, in my downest of times and in the wrongest of moons, maybe it will sometimes, you know, get at me. You know, I'm only human, but it takes a hell of a lot. Like, with me, like, it takes so much because I've been through so much.
Yeah,
like, I've just been through it, and there's only a certain point where, like, you just think, oh, it couldn't be worse than that, or this, and then you think, you justify the bad things you've been through, and then you get stronger for it, and I don't know, and then it's just like water off a duck's back, you know? Anything that's said really is, as long as you have enough confidence in yourself. I mean, that's the key. Like, liking who you are, knowing who you are, and believing that there's nothing wrong with you, you know, giving yourself a break, you're only human, but also having the confidence that you deserve X, Y, Z, you know, you deserve to be treated as good as anyone else or whatever.
Yeah.
And all of those kind of, you know, when you come to those kind of realizations and so on, things like people saying things about you just don't affect you.
Yeah.
Like, when you're younger especially, like, you feel like you're judged a lot more by people and your friends and whatever, and you want to be part of the group and blah de blah, understandably. But I don't know, it just comes to a certain point where just a simple kind of philosophy to it, I suppose. Things like, if someone doesn't show me respect, I have a lot of trouble respecting anything they say.
Yeah.
Like, because it only takes a very mediocre level of social intellect to be able to say something in a way that's not jarring or offensive. Like, it doesn't take a genius to socially interact with people in a way that's not offensive and realise you're being offensive. So anyone who is like that, I'm either like, they're obviously going through a hard time with something, or they're just so oblivious to their own selves that I find it hard to rate their opinion.
Yeah.
Like, I can't really value their opinion on something if they are obviously that kind of person. Like, I know it, in some ways it sounds very arrogant, but in other ways it's like it's not as if I'm feeling, oh, I have the ability to judge who's right and who's wrong. Like, obviously I don't, but if someone wants to interact with me, I don't know, it's like, I suppose it also comes from the entitlement, people with the over self sense of entitlement, and that people actually care about their opinion.
That's the thing, isn't it? It's like when someone just
because you can have a voice, doesn't mean that your voice is very relevant or
like
even. Yeah.
I like sort of when someone writes like a pissy comment on a video of mine, that's like obviously they've tried to think about it and form an argument. I like to try and give the impression that I literally nothing else in the universe is less important to me than their opinion. Like, and that's my punishment to them is like, you know what you're doing. You're taking something out of context that I've said, and you're trying to appear smart on the internet in the most sad. Like, I think it's so sad that people go on to like free entertainment at that, and just go, I'm gonna try and be horrible about something. I'm like, you deserve no attention, like none. If it was possible for me to give you negative attention, like if I could take attention away from you, I would. Like, I don't know. Those people.
I suppose it's just a cringe fest. It's like when you see people who post their things they've seen on their Facebook wall between two, like, I hate to be harsh, but like obviously mentally challenged people, and in some sense, not in the traditional sense, but. And you just see they're having this absolutely ridiculous argument. They thought, I might have thought that when I was like 6. I don't know, before I lived in the actual world.
Yeah, that's the problem.
And then you're like, and these people, the way they're writing things, it's like they're writing as if they actually really believe this, and that they think that their opinion on this is important.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what it is. It just bamboozles me. Like, don't get me wrong, like, I didn't come out of the wound and I knew everything and I knew how to talk to people and be, but we're talking about adults. Like, I'm not talking about teenagers, like actual adults. I mean, sometimes teenagers, but
yeah,
you think, geez, like, do you actually believe that? I don't know.
Yeah,
but at the same time, you don't want to like silence people, because even if they do have like a bit of an ill-informed opinion, it's like, well, it's a free country, have your opinion and whatever. I suppose it's more the sense that, well, I can say this, so I'm right. I don't know.
No, it's my favourite thing that I stopped myself replying to trolls a while ago is that, like, especially if they're kind of like, if they have an edge of that entitlement thing about their opinion, like you should respect what I say or think or whatever. My absolute favourite is when people give me comedy advice, like, oh, your delivery was a little bit off here and there, and I'm like, who am I fucking talking to? Billy Connolly? Do you know what I mean? Like, you're just some random on the internet, you know, like
someone critiquing it, and you're like,
look, fuck off, mate.
Where's your work, mate? Like, okay. I'm up for a peer review, but not a like script review.
Yeah, like where can I come and see you do stand up? Do you know what I mean? If I'm going to get fucking comedy tips from you, but like aside from that, like, what was my point? So no, that just made me laugh. Like,
it is funny. Well, you do get that a lot on YouTube, especially, I suppose, if people don't like know what you've done or your work, and they chime in on a video, and then they give you some advice. I mean, don't get me wrong, I can appreciate some advice, like, and especially constructive criticism is like invaluable, but it's from people who think like they know when they don't do it themselves. It's like, well, you could do that. Why don't you do it better than me then? Like, you know, here's your big stage, mate. Go. And it's like, to be fair, like, you do need someone with sometimes like an outside opinion to give you some insight you might not have realised.
Yeah, you need
understandable. Like, I might say to someone who's like, I don't know, a FIFA YouTuber, I could say, well, maybe you could try this. But I mean, I don't do video videos really, and I haven't got a proven track record of doing what I just suggested. But it's just an idea. But some people say it in a way where they're like, "Well, I know what would work." Like, like, go on then, mate.
Yeah.
Like,
you've got what, like 2 subs and 70 videos. Please tell me the secret to success and popularity. You know, I don't know. It's that stuff. It's like when I did the videos about PC gamers are AIDS and console fanboys are idiots and stuff like that. Like when I did the 2 oppositional videos, like right after one another, I was like, I hope that the people that watched the first one and like took it at face value might watch this one and go, oh, I see what he's doing. And to be fair, a lot of them did, but there were still a few of them that I was like, how can you not get this? How can you not hear what I'm trying to say? Like, I don't think I'm being particularly subtle. Do you know what I mean? It's like when people take you just like, I don't know, it's the internet, it's not the real world. And I think as I'm older, I just kind of like, if someone's arrogant in their comments, in their negativity towards you, I'm just like, I know what life does to people like you. I know what the real world and the suffering involved in being a human being out in the real world when you're older, what that does to people. And all of that shitty pissiness is going to disappear rapidly. Like,
will it? But there are some people who manage to stay in the bubble for a long time.
Yeah.
Even you could even do it all your life in the right set of circumstances.
Yeah, I think for most people, there comes a time where they, it
hits the fan.
Yeah, it hits the fan, and they go, "Oh, the world isn't how I see it."
It's like, oh, this is something that is much more difficult than I could ever anticipate.
Yeah.
Or even just feeling those feels. I don't know, just the
Well, that's what
to be a person and survive in the world for more than 20, then 30, then 40, then 50 years. You have to go through so much stuff just to even have lived that long.
Yeah.
That there's going to be a lot of times where things are going to have been like real messed up, and you're like, oh crap, like, can I even take this? Like, this, it seems like too much. I mean, people commit suicide and stuff, not everyone makes it.
Not everyone makes it, dude. Like,
it's true.
I think you get to, I don't know, like, I suppose we just sound like two old men sort of putting the world to rights, but like, I suppose, like,
that's what a podcast is, mate. Almost too much.
That's what it is. Like, I think you get, at least in my experience, what happened to me was like, instead of being judgmental and negative about things, you get to an age where you're like, oh man, life sucks so much cock sometimes. I don't have the time to be negative. I
think, to be fair as well, knowing that makes you often appreciate everything.
Yeah.
Like, everything. Like, without, again, sounding like some, like, philosophical twat, like putting the world to rights, like, it's weird though, because there are some people quite older who do not see the, like, amazingness of things.
Yeah.
And I'm like, look, you see this tree, right? No one told it to grow, right? No one told it to, and it's formed perfectly. And you are when you actually get down to the real gritty of what the hell is going on here, really. Like, what is occurring in this physical space I'm in the natural world? And then you're just like, God, this is so, like, beyond comprehension. Like, what I could comprehend as to what is really causing everything and how it's happening. And it's like, even just the fucking air. Like, because obviously now you have more knowledge flooded into your brain, the chemicals that exist in certain things and what they do, and you go like, God, just everything's just so mind blowing.
Yeah.
It sounds like I'm smoking, but I'm not high, right?
Yeah, no.
But this is how I feel. This is how I think, even without drugs, right? And it's funny as well, because I know some people who need that, like, as people smoke weed and they start talking about things like that, like, and they're like, oh yeah, man, you've got to get high, because then, like, it just blows your mind. And it's like, yeah, I understand it does, but you can also get there if you can get your brain there, like, in a slightly different sense, where you're just like, Jesus Christ, like, what the fuck? Like, this is just, it's ridiculous, really. Like, we can't comprehend what's happening, even when you just think, what is the universe? So what the hell is it? Like, really?
Yeah.
Even if you're going to be like a chimpanzee, like, oh, I don't know what this is. But that's what we are, isn't it? It's like a chimpanzee. We're just looking up and we're like, well, we can observe what it is, but we don't know what it is.
The idea, I always found this, like, mind-blowing. Like, the one thing that just, like, the thought that I had that just kind of, like, broke my brain was, I've got a mind, right, that is capable of thinking about itself.
Yeah, talking to itself as well.
Like, it can conceptualize what it is. That's mental. Like, no other animal has that. Like, that we can consider our own mind.
And there's all these things that don't exist that just have no intelligence.
Yeah.
And then even every animal we know that in existence doesn't have that ability.
No.
To think
that we
that
know
way.
of. I mean, it's very difficult.
Yeah, well, to be fair, they say like, dolphins, elephants, something, might have a lot more awareness than we realise because we can't ever really find out. But, I mean, I doubt this like cup of noodles in front of me is very aware of itself,
It's got a very bad work ethic, that cup of noodles.
But do you know what? At the same time, you think like, well, maybe it fucking does. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe it does. Like maybe the plants are all there, like humming in Mother Nature, and they're all on the same wavelength, and they just know exactly what the fuck's going on, and we're just on here.
Yeah.
We're just on the planet.
And they just sort of silently
and they're all
judge
just
us.
like, these fucking idiots don't know what this
don't know
is.
what
Like,
they're
check this
doing.
out. I'm part of this huge ecosystem, and it's obviously not in that. They wouldn't think in that
They
sense,
wouldn't
but
think
there's
in
no
human
reason.
terms, no.
Yeah, but there's no reason why a plant isn't more intelligent than you, but just not in the way we see intelligence. I know, like, it's some kind of sounds ridiculous, and I understand how it is in a way, but what makes us so righteous? I don't know. Like,
Our own sense of self-importance.
or the entitlement, especially whatever the word is. I was going to say exublified, but I made that up. Right, but encouraged by, like, say, religion.
Yeah.
You are God's creation, and and the animals aren't you. You're the special ones.
Yeah.
We're the special ones because we are everything. Everything was made for us.
Yeah, it's incredibly egocentric way of existing.
Because it makes it easier for some people to deal with it, really.
Yeah.
Deal with the whole, well, what the hell am I then? Because even the most barely socially and intellectually aware person will sometimes have that thought of like, well, what am I? Like, what am I doing here? What I'm saying that, and it's weird as well because sometimes, like, the less you think about that, the happier you are. And is that like because of how we've evolved to just enjoy not knowing?
I honestly think about this that I'm sure if people did tests about it, that there is a specific amount of people per head, like 1 out of 100 or 1 out of 1,000 of people that have the genetic makeup where they cannot not think about that stuff.
Well, I think quite a lot of people are kind of overwhelmed by it all. And to be honest, I think that's why there is organised religion.
Yeah.
Because it's overwhelming for the general person.
Maybe. I don't know. I just think, I see this a lot with, like, some of my friends who have, like, more traditional jobs and sort of, like, lifestyle choices that they've made for their lives and stuff. Like, one of them was saying, I've got a friend who's bipolar, and another friend was saying, oh, well, they just, you just have to man up and you just have to deal with your shit. And I'm like, you are talking out of complete and utter ignorance. You have no frame of reference for what that's like, because this isn't someone having a bad day. This has been, like, medically ratified.
Oh, what you mean with, like, depressions and anxieties?
Yeah, depression and anxieties and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like, they have it's not a disease because they didn't catch it, but it's an illness, and their world is not the same as yours.
But do you know what? That's also the same kind of person who will treat a child like an adult, expecting them to understand.
Yeah.
And they'll say they've got a pet. They'll talk to it, and they'll only use their frame of reference with the animal or the child instead of, like, seeing the bigger picture.
Yeah.
Like, the kid is crying because it's a big deal because it's 3.
Yeah.
And that ice cream is everything in its whole world disappearing from existence.
Yeah.
That's like someone taking everything you have and everything you ever worked for, and it just disappears. That's what that kid not having that ice cream, that's what it means to them, because it's a perspective thing. And then they're like, oh, why are you mad? It's just this, it's just that. It's like, Jesus Christ, like, I don't know if it's because that's how they were treated and they think that's going to work, or they just don't have that ability to self-reflect and be understand like things from someone else's perspective. And
I mean, I've talked about a lot. I've talked about this issue particularly a lot in my videos because it's a topic that's really important to me. Is that I've been in a lot of jobs in my life where I've been shouted at by a boss, and I'm like, no, that is not how you get me to be more productive. And and other people's inability to see that the way that they see the world isn't the absolute be-all and end-all right way to see it is very difficult. A lot of people have problems with the plurality of the world, of the fact that there's different people with different experiences, and one way of doing
they
something
find it
doesn't always
difficult
fit.
to consider, and they don't like dealing with difficult things. I mean, no one does really. Let's be fair.
No.
But at the same time, there is a certain, something to be said for. You always learn things that are difficult and that are challenging, and then you realise that you learn from that, and then you kind of more embrace it rather than push it away. Because if it's difficulty, you're kind of like, well, this is making me look at things in a new light.
Yeah.
So the next thing that will... And I know what you're saying with the whole depression thing and that. I mean, I'm someone who I would never say that I suffered from depression in terms of severely, because I've had a few periods in my life where I kind of the effects of a depression, and it's weird because it would only be like sometimes a day or two, but other times for like a few hours.
Yeah.
And it's like there's a difference between me being pissed off, upset, all of those emotions, and the depression. It's not comparable to an emotion. It's almost like it is you. It's so consuming that it's not something. And for some people to say, like, don't get me wrong, if I see someone who's down, I might be like, oh, try and think positively. But if I know they're depressed, I know for one that's not going to solve what is making them feel bad. And I know and I feel it's because you can. It is, and also I'm not sure if it's because that person hasn't felt that depression.
Yeah, I think,
or maybe that's just worked for them. So they're just saying to you, then I try and look at the more positive things, and I feel better.
Yeah, here's my solution to a similar problem. I think a lot of people,
but that's all some people can. That's all you can do sometimes.
No, that's true. I think some people have a deep, resounding problem with complexity. Right. So I think some people find it difficult to accept that there are quite often in the world there are two competing ideas that are contradictory and both are true. I think people find complexity.
Right, so you think there's a lot of people who want an answer.
Yeah, like
instead of, well, you're both not wrong.
Yeah, people don't like complexity because they can't then file it away in their brain and not think about it anymore. Like people like this is the reason why you see people in leadership roles, especially like historical great leaders and stuff like that. They've, from a scientific point of view, they've been quick thinkers. They've been quick to act, right? So they consider a very complex problem very quickly and are decisive, right? Yeah. People like that because what they think it means is that the person understands the way the world is and makes the right decisions accordingly. But actually what's happened is they've made massive generalizations and assumptions and based a decision that could potentially affect millions of people off those assumptions. Now, that's not necessarily what you actually want. But
I suppose they have the social awareness to know what they think people want to hear that will cause the least problems.
Yeah.
And they can do that quickly.
Yeah, I mean, if you could be cynical about it, but say like a national leader reacting to crisis, like that is a very specific example where you can see some people act very, very quickly and some people take longer to make their decision. Like, it's been written about, say specifically someone like President Obama in America, right? The reason why a lot of Americans aren't that thrilled with him is because he, from a psychologist point of view, displays signs of classical slow thinking. So he considers the options before he makes a decision, whereas someone like Bush is a classic quick thinker. So he summarizes everything really, really quickly and goes with his gut instinct. And people are more reassured, just like most people, I'm saying, not like everyone, but most people are more reassured by someone who at least pretends to know what the fuck's going on. Because we like to think that these people in power know more than us and are more in control and are smarter, but really
you just need a spokesperson.
Yeah, but really they're just people. That's what they are. That's all they are.
Yeah, and to be honest, I kind of want to underlie this podcast well, because like when we come out with things like some people, like because I just hate to come off as like elitist or something.
No, I'm trying to be as plural as possible.
Not us sitting on top of our high horses, but people in this world, right?
Yeah.
That, you know, the peasants, all right.
Those unfortunate enough not to go to Oxbridge.
Yeah, I suppose it's just general things you notice in society. Yeah. And to be honest, they're only even worth talking about because they're not the norm.
Yeah.
Like, if it was the norm, it wouldn't even make an interesting topic. But obviously, you're going to comment on things that are a little bit out there compared to, I mean, because there's another thing as well. You get, if like, especially if you interact with a lot of people socially on a daily basis, you do get to learn like most people are pretty switched on, and that's what makes everything work so great. I mean, look at all the amazing technology that probably surrounds you right now. I mean, you didn't make that. Do you know what I mean? Who did? Some guy who's like bright as a button, you know.
Yeah.
All these geniuses. I mean, if it was just me and you in the world, I think I might have a cup of noodles and a slice of bread around me. I don't know. Do you know what I mean? I couldn't invent all this crap.
Yeah.
You know, it's invented by innovation from people who are, you know, intelligent and if we all weren't kind of working for a common cause of basically humanity, we would never really do anything, because people make things to make people's lives easier as well. But I mean, obviously for financial reasons as well, especially in the society we live in now.
Yeah.
But in general, things progress because there is that basic instinct everyone has to survive, and you know, you need for that you need a community. But it kind of leads me on one thing actually that I found interesting, and that I especially noticed recently, especially with Twitter, is the whole, I can't remember, there's a certain scientific word for it, but it's the something number, and it's the number of actual people that you can deal with having in your life and actually have an understanding of them, and you can psychologically deal with the amount of problems that many people might have. Because, for instance, it's like, because of the internet, it seems like someone in my life dies every day.
Yeah. Because,
you know, wrestler died today, thingy died yesterday, all these people died tomorrow. And as humans, as we've evolved over the years, there's never been a point where we've had to deal with other people on that kind of scale.
Yeah.
Until now. Like, even back in like the 80s, you would never have to deal with more than your social group, like, unless you read a paper. But even then, it's not on a personal level. It's kind of that thing over there in the next town. Like, your brain is only really evolved and socially evolved so that you can comprehend a certain amount of people's emotions and feelings and care about them. It's like, even if you have a Twitter and say a lot of people tweet at you, say you get responses on Twitter, but imagine having 2 million followers and 200,000 people reply to each tweet. There's a number where after that it just becomes noise, you know.
Yeah.
And that's how I feel it is with society in general. Like, I feel a lot about, and people always saying, oh, you know, R.I.P. this famous person, but not all the other people always die and whatever. And it's almost because of it. It's just noise now. Like, the amount of things happening, people who follow more than 1,000 people on Twitter, for example, I don't understand it. Like, unless they're all like joke accounts and like they're reading jokes all day or something, I don't know. But to even comprehend that many people, I mean, I have quite a small family as well, and so for me, it's like I'm used to a smaller number, and I don't know. I always find it interesting how we deal with that, and if that has a psychological effect on people now. The fact that they're having to deal with, because a lot of the news coverage and stuff, like, stresses people out, gives them anxiety and all these depressions and anxieties that people weren't having really before.
Yeah.
On such a scale. But I think it will eventually, we will progress through it and we'll be able to deal with it a lot better. But I just think the sudden boom of technology has really caused in some ways, obviously there's goods and bad. It's not as if it's a bad thing in particular. Like, we wouldn't be having the podcast now that we're like enjoying doing or whatever without all of that. But it does make you wonder. I suppose you think back to times where simpler times, but you were happy. Like back in the old days, it was simple then, but I was happy.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I personally would always prefer the choice if knowledge is suffering and ignorance is joy. I think I would rather know what the fuck was going on than not. I think.
Yeah, it's like, is ignorance bliss?
No, I don't think it is. I suppose
don't. we have developed this way though with all the technology because we always thirst for more knowledge.
Yeah,
like the thirst to know more. Like you're interested. Like your natural instinct is to want to find out more, or even if it's not finding out more, it's to have your brain triggered by all these little things. Like Twitter or Facebook or a website you go onto or Reddit or whatever. Your brain wants to keep triggering. That's what it is. It's like you're always finding something new and that, triggers off something you haven't seen before. And that basic human need for that is also what encourages such, intake of all this online information. And
I just see them as I see it as like going down the rabbit hole of the internet. Like, I think it can be like, because we're naturally sort of attracted to sort of new and tantalizing sensations, whether they be like psychological or physical or emotional or whatever. Like anything that, like, we're like magpies. So like the internet is the ultimate resource of humanity ever, because if you can think of it, it's out there. And I think one of the big problems that could be facing us is that, like, as you're talking like overstimulation, like there's just so much. There's so much suffering in the world. There's so much joy. As an individual, we can't conceptualize it fully.
Yeah.
We can't.
Like the universe or anything like that. Some
thoughts require. Like, some thoughts are so big, they require you to do nothing while thinking about them. Do you know what I mean? Like, you can't.
Well, you've got to empty your stream of consciousness to even be able to absorb it. I
can't be at work. My last employed job for somebody else was I was a graphic designer at a sign makers. I was like, I can't be sitting here trying to get the measurements for this sign right to be cut out of very expensive materials if I'm also at the same time contemplating the nature of the universe. I can't do those two things at the same time.
Sure.
And I think what we struggle with now is I've just got TweetDeck on in the background, and there's new stimulation every couple of seconds.
Yeah.
Of something that could potentially be very interesting to me because I'm like that anyway. And I'm like, no wonder.
TweetDeck's a dangerous one for that.
Yeah, TweetDeck's really bad for that. And
I don't have TweetDeck now because it's too much of a distraction.
Well, because it's live as well. Twitter's not. If you go to Twitter, the website, it's not live.
To be fair, I that's why I like live streams. In a way, because there's always you don't know exactly what it's going to be, but also I kind of do that with Reddit when you browse Reddit, because there's just an unlimited amount of links, and I know some of them are going to interest me, and it just takes a bit of browsing, and I suppose that's if they were force fed to me on a live update thing like TweetDeck, then I'd be like, I don't know, I'd almost find that too much of a distraction. Yeah, because I'll be constantly looking at it, so I only got to turn it off. Turn it off. So when I'm trying to focus on getting an edit done, but say I'm watching a live stream or doing something else, it's like, oh god, now I've got to put. Earlier, I was watching Suits while doing top 5 snipers, and there's some points okay, hold on, I need to pause Suits now because I actually need to
Work.
use the brain for this bit. There are certain bits where like I'm just putting the kills together.
Yeah.
It doesn't take my brain really.
No.
And then it's like, oh right, okay, now the brain can only handle actually editing and not have that stimulation in the background. So yeah, but that's just the nature of people. I mean, you can't really focus fully on two things at once. It's just
No, I go through this thing where if I to do my commentaries, like I like an energy drink just before I write them, and then like doing it's kind of like a performance. So like if I like an energy drink just before I do the video, because it gives me that immediate sense of excitement, to do something, whatever. But I can't have anything else on at all. Like I can't have Skype or Twitter or like nothing except the script and the audio program.
Right.
And
yeah,
that's
I
it.
suppose.
Like I can't.
Also, if you don't do that, it's like you're not really giving yourself to the video.
Yeah.
You're giving like 60% of your effort, and it's like you don't want to produce something that's 60% of your effort, do you?
No.
You want to give them, the full Eddie.
The full Eddie.
Yeah.
The euphemism for what?
Well, for your work, shall we say?
Yeah.
Get the full Eddie. That'll have to be a thing. But you should name that your next video or something.
The full
Get
Eddie.
the full Eddie, and then you can talk about not being distracted while making videos. Perfect.
Yeah.
I made your next video for you.
Thank you.
Perfect. No worries. At least that's.
The invoice will be in the post.
Don't worry about that, mate. Jesus Christ. I know what that YouTube revenue's like these days, mate. Nightmaric. To be fair, I don't even notice it. Oh, well, yeah, I mean, I bet I try not to because it's just so bad, even with quite a lot of views. Just like, Jesus, how else am I going to get money? Like, I need to find other ways, quick.
Yeah, now.
Yeah, it's difficult. Right, well, I guess we should wrap it up.
Yeah.
We've babbled on about everything. Let's just check there's nothing particularly important that we overlook. I don't think our incredible list of topics really covers anything too. No, we kind of cover most of those things. I feel like people appreciated our ramblings probably more than the topics that we had lined up. So, yeah, they were something.
Yeah.
What is this? Oh, Jesus, fucking chat. Right, anyway, everyone, thanks for turning up. Thanks to Eddie for doing an impromptu podcast.
No worries.
It's good to get some things off of our chest.
Always a pleasure.
And discuss it with these little chat scripts. I don't think I'm going to put this one on YouTube, but if you're watching this on YouTube now, I caved, all right? I caved, and I turned it into a video. But it's going to be over 2 hours, so maybe not. I don't know. This crazy gamer wants us to talk about the next COD. I think that's a bit too much for a big subject to start at the end of the podcast. Yeah, we'll do that next time. Yeah, but I tell you what, crazy gamer, remind us next time and I'll make an effort. Also, check out my G2A links underneath the stream for cheap PC games. As always, you guys know that. I mean, you're the hardcore. If you're watching the podcast, you know to do that. So do that. I upload a video tonight as well. If you didn't see it, go to my video page because you know them sub boxes ain't legit. And you know what's interesting actually? Whenever I log on to YouTube, on like what to watch that comes up. You're always on there. Always.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, I know it's because I've clicked most of your videos and then it uses that algorithm to be like, oh, he likes this person, so put it there. But you and Drifter, honestly, and it never changes. Like, it hasn't changed for about a month. And don't get me wrong, like, you and Drifter are like interesting channels, but it'd be nice if they mixed it up every now and then.
Yeah, I know.
Although I'm hoping that that's what they're doing for me. To other people, like some people are like, oh, Jay on the what to watch thing again. Well, oh well, guess I'll click it. Interesting. When you right, thanks for Just Chris for the link to the funny video as well. Anything you want to advertise or say?
No, not really. I mean, just if you want to follow me on Twitter at EddyTheChump and YouTube EddyTheChump.
Yeah, you guys know Eddie. I suppose that would be more relevant if you were like a one-time guest, but you know Eddie now, so it's fine.
Yeah.
Right.